Shall we invite Ron?
Yes, let's invite Ron.
Woo! Hi, Ron.
Hi, glad to be here. So I'm an open source developer. I've been working on open source for 30 years, 33 years. I worked at the Santa Cruz operation here in Santa Cruz on the development of Xenix, and then Unix, and then Linux.
Ooh,
And
interesting.
what I did was I was the open source, part of my title was open source solution architect. So basically, I glued together a bunch of open source packages and provided solutions for our partners that way. At that time, it wasn't so well received. A lot of our partners considered it to be some sort of socialism or communism. It was a difficult time trying to convince everybody that it was cool.
Wow, interesting.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
And as part of that, like in the 90s, I put together a solution involving Type VNC and a Netscape Navigator plugin I wrote to be able to access.
Type VNC.
Type VNC. Yeah.
Type VNC, it's just another VNC server.
Yeah. I think I've used it even.
Me too.
Yeah.
At that time, it was the best one around, the fastest one. And so I put together this thing that you could access your desktop and applications on your desktop from your browser. And this is the 90s. And
Okay.
I thought that was pretty cool, but it was kind of clunky. The plugin didn't work as well as it should. And now, so fast forward like 25 years, and we've got this really cool web top that utilizes all these advanced features of modern browsers. So you can access your desktop from anywhere if you have a browser, and you don't even need to install anything on your.
You don't even need a machine, basically.
You need a computer with a browser.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to show you that. It's called Chasm Workspaces, and let me just share my. Do you guys want to know anything more about me? Like.
Yeah. What was the first open source project?
Good question. I want to ask the same thing.
The first open source project? Gosh, I think most people consider that Stallman's GNU project in the 80s.
No, I mean the first one that you worked on.
You worked on, yeah.
I did a bunch of, at the time in the 80s, I was a PhD student at the University of California in Santa Cruz here, and I was working on chaos theory. I was studying chaos theory. And so I built a open source laboratory to explore dynamical systems with like a visualization thing and like all kinds of parameters you could tweak. And so that I published, and that's what I got. That was my PhD thesis, was a software laboratory to explore dynamical systems. And that was probably, so along with that, I wrote a bunch of sort of visual eye candy stuff, like stars and, evolving. So I just wrote a bunch of mathematical recreations. So you a lot the math I was learning and the computer software I was learning, I put those together and made I made up what I call the math rec package. So that's where that's where I first got started, was like in the early 80s, writing mathematical software and releasing it as open source.
Which is kind of like in parallel with how open source started, right? Like coming from the universities, from basically publishing, same way as you publish articles and theses as you publish, open source projects. That was kind of like.
So at that time, we were using Usenet news groups to share our software. We also shared on academic networks, and some like there was a bunch of open source happening in government as well, like NASA would share a lot of what they were developing. But then later in the 80s, with the Free Software Foundation and the GNU project and Then in the 90s with Linux, it just exploded.
Yeah.
So I was lucky to be in on sort of the ground breaking on that, and kind of made my own job at SCO as open source architect. And
Nice.
I produced a bunch of CDs called Skunkware that we bundled this Skunkware with every operating system we sold. This extra CD that was Skunkware, that was a bunch of open source glued together. That that's if you wanted to run Apache or you wanted to have GCC, you had to install the Skunkware CD.
I vaguely recall having one, but yeah,
if you ran an SCO operating system, even Xenix in the 80s or Open Server in the 90s or SCO Unix later, you got Skunkware.
That was basically a distribution of open source software.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was free, packaged, pre-compiled and configured and packaged for that particular operating system. So it was installable with the operating system package management.
Yeah.
But it was unsupported and fun. So yeah, that's how I got started in open source, and my job now is it's still gluing open source together.
Interesting.
So the most recent fun thing that I've stumbled across is this Chasm Workspaces, and I really liked it because it's what I was working on 25 years ago.
Type VNC. It's basically the same.
But now it really works. So let me show you. I'll present. Share screen. Entire screen. Okay, so
this is us.
Can you all see this Chasm Workspaces?
Yeah. Can you take the screen kind of full screen, the browser?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep.
So this is the Chasm Workspaces homepage. It's a container streaming platform. It streams containerized apps. You can see desktop workspaces. Web isolation workspaces are a really good feature that a lot of people use. This is like if you want to run Chrome or Firefox or whatever without any cookies or any malware or anything that's been you spin up this workspace that's got your browser. It's got a clean, fresh browser. You do whatever you need to do. Then when you close the workspace and open it back up again, all that stuff is gone. So it's a way to isolate your workspace from any previous maybe bad things that happened.
Yeah.
There's applications and so on. And there's 3 editions. I use this one, the $0 one, which works perfectly fine. You're just limited to 5 concurrent sessions. So if you really wanted to do something with a company that needed more than that, it only costs $5 per user per month. And then you get more for $10 per user per month. So that's my little advertisement for Chasm. It's very well documented. So the documentation is pretty good. I'm running the single server installation. You can install multiple servers, and you probably would want to install multiple servers if you had more than 5 users. The install process for the single server install is pretty easy. You just you curl this tar file, extract it, and run this install script. That's it. So that installs, and once it installs, you get something.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what's your use case for this? I mean, so you're both working for this. If I understand well, you're both working on the open source project of the Chasm.
So this Chasm project, I do not maintain.
Okay.
I contribute to it, but I'm a user. I'm basically a power user of Chasm.
Yeah, exactly. So can Can you tell me a little bit about your use case? What you
Yeah,
do?
that's I just wanted to give you an introduction to Chasm first. That's Chasm. Let's get to what I'm doing.
Okay.
So here's what I'm doing. I run a Chasm. I maintain a Chasm registry. So so Chasm uses what they call registries to download and install these workspaces. So each registry maintains its own customized set of workspaces. I have a few that I've developed, and I maintain them here in this GitHub project, and then that has some CI/CD stuff that creates this other thing that's the actual registry where you go. So Record Technologies is what it's called, and I have this library of only a few workspaces, the ones that I've developed so far.
Yeah.
And so, well, let's go wing. This is used by Chasm to install and configure the wing workspace.
Okay, interesting.
And so what you do is you add this workspace by clicking. You get the workspace registry link and you add that in Chasm. And now once that's enabled in Chasm, you have access to all of this registry's workspaces. So let's go over to Chasm.
Nice.
I'll log in. I have it configured so I can log in with Gatia or with Okta. You can wrap Chasm with all kinds of authentication. Like, for instance, here I'll show you authentication. So this is the admin dashboard for Chasm. You can authenticate with all these different ways. I use OpenID and SAML. And you can, manage all your users and your infrastructure. I've configured several servers. And there's settings and diagnostics and so on. So mostly where you work is here in the workspaces as the admin, and in the registry, if you want to add a registry, you go to registries and you add new, and I've already added myself, so I'm already here. And it shows you the available workspaces, installed workspaces, and so on. Once you, if you want to install a workspace, you can just click on it and click install. Once it's installed, you can then configure it. Like if I go down here, let me show you the wing.
Okay.
The wing workspace is installed, and you can configure it with this interface. You can give it a name, you can give it a description, you can give it a thumbnail. You tell it where to get the Docker image. You can specify how many cores and how much memory, how many GPUs, how much where to get it.
Yeah.
And so these settings are kind of important. So Chasm allows you to specify a persistent profile path. So for Wing, what I've done is, if you use this image for whatever user ID, that's where your profile will be stored. That means that allows you to do some configuration as this user in this workspace.
Yep.
And it's preserved over runs, whereas often with Docker, with container running environments, you lose anything you've done every time you run it.
Right.
So this preserves it across runs. It also maps a directory from the host to the container so that you can share files between the host and the container, and so on. I expose port 3000 so then I can access the Wing console from inside the container or from outside the container, and so on. So then once it's configured, then you can go here to workspaces. This is what a user would see. I have the admin panel dashboard because I'm an admin, but normally you wouldn't see that. You would just see this workspaces. And here's the workspaces that I've currently got configured, Wing being one of them. And it spins up the container, and here we are. I'm logged in. So This is my custom. Now, normally, the first time you would run this, it does some initialization, so it takes like a minute or two to get everything set up. But once that's done, subsequent runs just bring it up like this. I think so what I've done here is I've added Visual Studio with the Wing extension. I've added Ranger with some Wing knowledge. I still have to work more on Ranger. Actually, that's currently what I'm kind of.
What's Ranger?
Ranger, I'll just show it to you. Ranger is a file manager.
Okay. Okay.
So
like Midnight Commander.
Northern Commander.
Yeah, Northern.
It's very much like those old ones, but it's cooler.
How can it be cool?
And it works. It works in 2024.
With a
Right.
cursor.
You can format the README. You can display the image.
Oh, nice.
Now the format. So here's what I'm working on. I need to get it to understand Wing syntax and
Highlighting.
Yeah, we got you covered.
So it doesn't do a very good job. It doesn't know how to do this. I tried to tell it it's JavaScript. That didn't work. I tried to tell it. So if there's some language that's close enough to Wing that's already known by Highlighter, I'm going to try to. I need to figure that out. So anyway, and if you can then go into an editor. Right now I'm using VI. I should probably use VS Code because VS Code is way better right now than VI with respect to Wing. So we can quit out of that. I also have like this is BTOP. It's just a system monitor, so you can see if you're in trouble. And then Visual Studio Code is the Wing extension for this works pretty well. So right now, I mean, it works better than it works for a new extension. It works better than I thought it would. So if you go to, let me see, I think I've already got something here I can work with.
Yep.
So I don't know about this. And you can just run the console like that.
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so where is this running? This is running on.
Okay. There's a server in a data center in Texas somewhere that's running this.
And that's basically.
What, does it run other stuff? Is it kind of how much stuff? I mean, so that's why you ask for the CPU, basically.
Right now, I'm the only user on this system. So, and I've beefed it up with lots of memory and a couple of, and CPUs. So, Chasm is a hog. It's a resource hog. So, really, it's if you're going to run Chasm servers, you really need to have some pretty beefy hardware. Now I have run it at home on just a regular Linux, regular standard desktop Linux, and it works fine. As long as you're the only user, but once you get multiple users and multiple workspaces, it starts to. So right now we're good. This is pretty cool. I like this. If you go here to problems, it says that there's no problems. So then, like, if you just create a problem, take away that, it tells you right away. I expected a semicolon there, and there's not one. So this is pretty nice. You can take that away and go back, whatever.
Is it updated with the latest version of Wing, or do you need to update it manually?
So I have a question about that. Yes, when I install the workspace initially, it downloads and installs the latest version of Wing with npm.
Yeah.
I wrote a little script to update. Like something I noticed was, let me get out of this. Oh yeah, they do syntax highlighting fine. So why can't everybody else?
That's our VS Code extension.
Yeah.
But we have a highlighting file that you should be able to use.
Okay.
We'll send it to you over Slack.
Thank you. So I have a terminal session I've set up with Kitty, with the examples directory, Ranger, btop, and just home. And if I go to the examples here, this brings up the Wing console, and it will ask me to Wing. So I can get to the Wing console this way. And I wish I could just have it be dark all the time.
Okay, interesting.
Open an issue. Open an issue.
Open an issue. So here's what I was going to ask you. It tells me an update is available for Winglang, even though I've installed the latest one with npm. So now if I go, let's take me to and this might work because I recently made some fixes to it.
Are you installing it globally?
No, I install locally for in the user. I use NVM, and that might have worked. Let's see.
Yep, it worked. It worked.
Cool.
51. Yep. Bug fix.
You can also do Wing -- version if you want to see the version.
Just to get the version.
Yeah.
Okay, so I fixed it. Never mind.
Awesome.
So, what do you think about Wing?
Well, it's too early for me to make a good assessment because mostly what I've done so far is outside of Wing. I like building these wrappers and user interfaces and integrating with Chasm and integrating with the desktop, and so for the actual, but I really am not a good Wing programmer yet. So I've just studied the examples. So it's too early for me to say, but I really love the concept and the approach, the usability, the interfaces. So I'm optimistic, but it's too early for me to judge.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
It is early in the project, so definitely would love to hear what you think in the future if you get a chance to build stuff with it.
Yeah, I will definitely give you feedback. I plan to continue to be involved in the community and to involve as much as possible. My biggest problem is that I'm employed, so
yeah, you have a day job.
Yeah, I would like nothing better than just work on Chasm and Wing or whatever fun thing I can find all the time.
Yep, makes a lot of sense.
I don't know what else I can show you here. I think that's pretty much it. btop, I've done some btop, some examination with btop and the Wing, even with the console running in VS Code, and
Okay.
Loaded up, everything still stays within good range here in btop.
Oh, it's actually good.
So we're not stressing.
Yeah, Ron, when I saw that you have a tab of btop, I was concerned. I was so he's checking us all the time. I mean, what's going on?
No, it's good. It's good.
It's actually good. Great. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, Ron. I think first of all, this was very interesting discussion. I mean, I was brought up on Linux, and kind of to hear the stories, kind of
Good.
open source. I was basically born. That was enlightening for me, and the project looks awesome. And thank you for this. Maybe we'll check it out. We have Wing. There's an option to run Wing in it. Yeah.
The something that you probably would be interested in here. Let me find where the heck I am. Is the Docker file. So this Docker file is for Chasm. So this is pretty Chasm specific, and it also installs a whole bunch of desktop applications and stuff, Nextcloud, all that game utilities. So, however, this could be a starting point for, or maybe a reference point for a Wing Docker image creation thing, your CI/CD. That's like something I would like to get to, but haven't had the time.
Nice.
So, anyways, this might be something that's interesting to someone.
Totally.
Awesome. Thank you.
Totally.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ron, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Ron. You probably, I'm not sure if you know, we have a tradition here. We have from one bit to another, one section to another, we play a song. Song is usually chosen by Mark, but Mark is doing reInvent, so he's not able to do it. So Amiel, our designer, has chosen a song, and I'm going to play it right now. So first of all, thank you once again. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for being with us, and thank you a lot for joining us today's section.